Hi, Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nadia from Open Learning and I'm your moderator for today. Today we have three speakers. The first is Dr. Azizul, Azri Mustaffa from UTM. Second is we have Major Dr. Prebagaran Jayaraman.
Hello.
He's a HRD certified trainer. Previously he was in the Navy. And we will also have Cherie Diaz from Open Learning, who will be joining us slightly later. So we will begin first, and I'll just cover a few things before we begin. So please allow me to share my slide. Here. Thank you everyone for joining us today. This is our first session kicking off our Microcredentials Symposium. And so what we have today is a live recorded session, and the recording and a follow-up email will be shared with you after today's session in the next few days. There will be some pop-up questions. There'll be two that we have installed. We would appreciate if you can help to answer those questions. And if you have any questions, do drop them in the Q&A box for our panelists to answer towards the end of the session after their presentation. So here with us today, I'd just like to introduce our first speaker. But before that, we'll make a round of introductions. Dr. Azizul and Dr. Prabha, if you can introduce a bit about yourself.
Okay, thank you, Nadia. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so hi everybody. Assalamualaikum and a very good day to everyone. I'm Azizul. I'm from UTM, University Technology Malaysia. So a bit about myself. So basically, I'm a senior lecturer at the School of Chemical and Energy Engineering, Faculty of Engineering, UTM. And at the same time, I'm also attached to the Center for Academic Leadership, or also known as UTM Lead, and at the Teaching and Learning Unit as the Manager for Creative Multimedia and Learning Technologies. And one of my main focus is to coordinate the development of MC courses in UTM and also MOOC as well. So I think that's all from me. I think moving on to Dr. Prabha.
Dr. Prabha.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nadia and Dr. Azizul. Hello, friends. My name is Prabha. I'm actually from the Royal Malaysian Navy. After serving the military, especially in the field of instructional system design, I had the privilege to be part of a shipbuilding project. That was a new generation petrol vessel project. It was the first of a kind where we were responsible to conduct training for the entire ship crew locally. In another word, we need to determine their competency requirement and actually bring the ship from Lumut, Perak to Langkawi for 10 days and ensure the team are competent in every aspect of operating this warship. So I was with the project for about 14 years, and I took early retirement and established my own company in collaboration with UTM Space, actually, Dr. Azizul, and also with HRDF. So currently we are conducting Train the Trainer using our experience, and I'm excited for the journey with the micro-credential and OpenCreds using this open learning platform. And we'll talk more about it soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that's a very interesting profile of both our speakers today. And I'll let Dr. Azizul take it away with him sharing a bit about UTM and their direction in delivering micro-credentials.
Okay, I can share my slides now?
Yes, please.
Okay. Can you see my slides now?
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, so thank you very much, Nadia. Thank you very much to Open Learning and the organizer for providing us the opportunity to share our micro-credential and journey and also showcase some of the courses that we have launched up until now. So first of all, I would like to share our journey. So basically, everything started all the way back in October 2019. I believe due to the guideline which have been published by MQA in terms of the development of MC. And then from there, in May 2020, we have presented a working paper, a proposal at the Senate meeting for curriculum and academic quality. So we managed to get the approval from the committee. And then in the same month, we have also presented the working paper at the Senate meeting. And after getting the approval, and in July 2020, we managed to establish the UTM Microcredential Committee, which members consist of representatives from different schools and faculties. And besides that, we also have a representative from the undergraduate office, postgraduate office, and also from UTM lead. So basically, the function of this committee is focusing on basically on quality assurance in making sure that all the MC courses that we have developed is according to the required quality. And then moving on, in August 2020, we had a discussion with Credible, looking at how we can issue badges for the MC courses that we have developed. And then in September 2020, we have managed to conduct our first ever workshop on MC development. So basically in 2020, we have a total of 4 workshops, which is in series, where the the lecturers need to go through. And in between, of course, they can start to develop the course. And then in October 2020, we managed to get an approval from the UTM management in terms of issuing the badges to the MC courses that we will develop. And in December 2020, so it was a good news for us. So we have officially launched our UTM Microcredential after successfully completing the development of our first ever MC course for enrollment. And fast forward now, November 2021, Alhamdulillah. So we have managed to launch a total of 23 courses. And of course, the journey is still a long way to go. We have still a lot of things that we would like to achieve through Microcredential, and the journey continues. Right, so next, okay, this is just to share with you some of the activities that we have conducted. Of course, in order to persuade our staff to develop MC courses, of course, we need to provide them awareness and expose to them what is actually Microcredential is, and why we need to develop Microcredential, and how to do it. And so if you look at the poster, basically we have many different sessions that we have conducted. We have conducted online roadshow for MC, and it's good that many of the staff have turned up to the session. And then next, I just would like to share the development process that we have in UTM. Of course, we would start with the workshops. Like I said before, in 2020, we have 4 workshops in series, which take quite some time for the lecturers to go through it and develop the course. So we have consolidated all the workshops, and now we have a 2-day development workshop, whereby the lecturers just need to go through all these 2 days, and then after that they can just work on developing the course. Okay, and this is action by the UTM lead. So UTM lead will conduct the workshop, and of course faculty will provide the lecturers to develop the course. And then okay, there should be one poster, but it's okay. So basically, based on the workshop, what they need to do first is that they need to, the developers, they need to fill in a form, which is called the course description form. So in that form, they need to fill in the topic, the synopsis, the learning outcomes, and everything, all related information for that course. And then we will forward the forms for approval from the UTM Microcredential Committee. Okay. So basically, the committee will evaluate the form, and if it is not according to what is required, then we will send it back to the lecturers. If it is according to the requirements, then of course we will accept. we will approve it. So it can be either with or without amendment lah. So if there's amendment, of course, we will ask the lecturers to do the amendment first. And then they can proceed with the development of the MC course, whereby in this step, they need to work on filling in the instructional design form, whereby that will be the structure of the course. And then on top of that, they will also need to develop notes. They need to prepare video scripts, and finally preparing the videos needed for the course. And then, of course, when preparing the materials, there need to be a fourth step, which is progress checking, which will be done by the team members themselves, by the faculty and school representative, and by UTM Lead. We can also help them in checking the quality of the materials. And after they have finalized everything, then we send all the materials back to the UTM MC committee for a final endorsement. So they will check the quality of the materials. If it is not up to the required standard, then we will send it back for improvement. Otherwise, we will accept it, and finally, in the the last step, we would launch and offer the course in the open learning platform. Right, then that will be the end of the process. So basically, this is the development process that we have in UTM. Okay, and so next, basically, is just to showcase all the courses that we have launched up until now. So this is the first 4 courses that we managed to launch in 2020, which is focusing on MUET. So we have Mastering MUET series. And then we also have Mastering Language series, whereby now we have only one, which is Paving Your Way Digitally. So this course is focusing on how to communicate digitally. And then we have another 2 language courses, which is in the pipeline. We have Let's Speak Arabic, we have Mandarin Made Easy. And then next we have a bit of a technical course. We have Decision Modeling series. And basically the developer, they plan to develop like 5 courses, and so they have managed to launch one, so another 4 in the pipeline. So this is a credit bearing course. So of course, any students can get credit transfer later on if they enroll in UTM. So this is another course. This is Marine Oil and Gas Project Management series. So they have 9 MCs. This is another credit bearing course. And just to highlight that all these courses are offered face to face, and so we also have face to face MCs. And then next we have Engineering Drawing series. We have 3 MCs, and so this is the course that we are currently apply for OpenCreds. And this is also credit bearing. And then we have Civil Engineering, 2 courses, one on technical report, another one on building development laws, and then we have another 2 MC for video editing. And so we have next we have 1 MC. So this is on computational thinking. We have offered this course for secondary school students in Segamat, and we have another one which is on product engineering. Okay, so this is just to share with you our target. So based on our 5-year strategic planning, our target is to launch a minimum of 100 courses by 2035. So it means that we need to launch around 20 courses per year. So in 2021, up until now, we have managed to launch 19 courses. So we have one more that we will launch before end of the year. So Alhamdulillah, we have managed to achieve at least for the first year. So this year we have 19. So we have launched another 4 last year. So the total now we have 23 courses. And just to share with you that currently we have 173 courses which are under development. So hopefully everything goes smoothly with the development, and hopefully we can also launch all of these courses by 2035. And I think by looking at the numbers, we can foresee that by 2025 we would be able to achieve, we would be able to double the target that we have set earlier, hopefully. And so this is my last slide. So that's just to share with you some our future steps. So the first point is basically, I just would like to share with you that starting from January 2022, our center UTM Lead will evolve into a new center focusing on flexible and digital education. And then number two, of course, we want to make sure that all the targets that we have set by 2025 can be achieved. And then number three, also we would like to improve the quality of our course, and by, of course, fulfilling the required standard. And one of it, I think, which is good, is the OpenCreds requirement. And of course, number four, to increase enrollments and profits. Of course, now we have 23 courses, but of course, one of the challenges is to obtain the enrollments. And of course, when we have high enrollments, then we would have high profit as well. And finally, the development of MC-based course programs. I think it would be good, it would be interesting in the future, say for example, if a certain learner, they would like to obtain a master degree, for example, they just need to go through the lesson through MC, Microcredential, and at the end of the day, enroll in UTM and obtain a master degree. That would be an interesting thing to have. Okay, I think that's all that I would like to share with the time that I have. So back to you, Nadia. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Azizul, for sharing with us the strategies and plans that UTM has adopted to deliver microcredentials. It looks like you've been very busy the past year, 2020. It looks like MCO did not stop you. I'd just like to recap for the audience. Earlier on, Dr. Azizul had mentioned OpenCreds. That is microcredentials that is developed in line with the OpenCreds framework for Malaysia that was designed by Open Learning. We developed the framework to assist organizations to have a point of reference, and we have it aligned to the NQA's guideline to good practices for microcredentials. So in the case of UTM, they have built some courses, of which is the AutoCAD courses that we reviewed, and we feel that that's got potential to be OpenCreds. So if you're interested, you can have a chat with our team. I'd like to just ask Dr. Azizul, you mentioned that one of the earlier steps is that the team has got to go through a series of workshops. Would you say that training is an important element in terms of delivering this microcredential strategy, in terms of training your fellow teammates and educators at UTM?
Absolutely. I think training is a very important step for us to train our lecturers, right, to develop MC courses, because sometimes they don't realize that certain things. So that's, for example, in preparation of notes, sometimes the lecturers, they don't realize that let's say, for example, they need to use image or any videos or animation in their materials, that they can't simply Google and take the material and put it in their materials, right? So there need to be a certain rules. They need to check the copyright. They need to make sure whether is CC license, have a common creative license, things like that. So, and another thing, for example, video, maybe I think most of the lecturers, they think that they need to develop their own videos, because in UTM, we have our own multimedia team. We have a studio with green screen, all the equipment. So through the workshop, we can tell them, okay, we have a team which can help you to maybe make a promotional video or record your video and even edit the video. And so those kind of things. So just from training, so they would realize things which they don't really know, something like that. Yes,
I think a common understanding of online learning or teaching is always videos, right? And you have to make your own, and that is not necessarily the case. I think it's very interesting that the emphasis UTM has taken in terms of training its own staff and team members. Let's hear it from a master trainer himself, Dr. Prabha. Perhaps you can share some of your insights as a trainer and your experience from being in the Navy.
Thank you very much, Nadia, Dr. Azizul. Hello, friends. Once again, welcome to this symposium. What I'm going to do is share some knowledge area or body of knowledge that inspired me to explore micro-credentials and also pay more attention to learning design. Let me give you an overview what this report is all about. Some of you may be familiar with the Association of Talent Development, previously known as American Society for Training and Development. In July 2018, they came up with a report led by Emma Weber. Actually, she wrote a book about it, actually. And the title is The Missing Link in Learning, i.e. transfer. For thousands of years, philosophers have defined learning as change in behavior. In another word, knowing is not learning, especially in today's world. Yeah? You can just Google and the information will come. So knowing is not learning. For the benefit of all of us here, anybody would like to guess how many % of learning is actually transferred to workplace? Just put in the chat, please, in a percentage. My question is, in your opinion, how many % of learning is transferred to workplace? Let's see some percentage here. Wow, Nadia, 23%. Why so precise? Change 5%. Look at the range here, from 25% to 5%, 10%, and so on and so forth. All right. Thank you very much, my friends. Research here says less than 15%. And the sampling here is from advanced countries, including Australia, America, and many parts of Europe. So advanced countries like that is having only 15% average in terms of learning transfer. Imagine where we stand. Imagine the country invests 100 billion in learning, education, training, etc. How many % of it is translated into result or action? So that inspired me to explore the subject. And last year around this time, October 2020, I was invited as a keynote speaker to share my experience, which I'll share in a while, as a head of a Marine Technology Academy, responsible for learning transfer. And the responsibility or topic given to me in a 1 hour topic actually is unlocking organizational learning. Just pay attention to that. When I started, I went to university, Dr. Azizul, in 1985 at USM, Bachelor of Science Education. The education degree is a 4 years program. Those days in the whole Malaysia, we had only 6 universities. Today, private, public, and so on, we have foreign university campus, we have more than 100 universities. In another word, opportunity for learning is tremendous. And Malaysia, since 1980s, we have been sending our bright students to the best universities in the world. That we have graduates from Cambridge, Oxford, MIT, Harvard, etc. But research shows a lot of this learning is hidden in a form of tacit knowledge. As such, it's not translated into result. And I'm privileged to be part of a project that actually can only happen if you're able to translate. In another word, if you are running a business, if your team is not competent, worst case scenario, the business may go bankrupt. If my ship crew operators are not competent, the ship will sink. If you are lucky, we can bring body bags home. So competency in the business that we are dealing with is literally life and death issue. So we need to identify the skill set required for every ship crew. In this ship, we had 69 crew members, from the captain of the ship to the last man on board. We need to decide what are their tasks. We got to break down the task into task element, we call it, And in order to perform the task, what are the knowledge, what are the skills, what types of attitude, and what are the environment you're going to operate? Ships, we need to operate the ship when the sea state is 7, 8, 9, and rough sea, midnight, whatever weather. In the military, enemy don't attack us on time or according to schedule. So we need to be ready 24/7. So what kind of mental attitude that is required? All that is precisely analyzed, and we need to design and deliver the training. Only when our training meet the stringent criteria of the Royal Malaysian Navy, our customer, the ship will be accepted and we get paid for this RM 6 billion ringgit project for 6 ships. So I was part of it for about 14 years. I'm only telling the nice story. We had a lot of struggles, a lot of troubles, a lot of mistakes, a lot of great lessons learned. That may take hours for me to share. And based on that experience, I had the privilege of sharing those experiences. That guy beside is actually from Australia. John, if you happen to be seeing in a YouTube or what, thank you very much. The partner, Scientific Management Associates from Australia, from Melbourne actually, they've been amazing learning partner. So whether you are developing a micro-credential or developing a full-fledged course, it's always a strategic partnership. Whether with the customer, with the stakeholder, with the learner. For example, when I was developing the micro-credential course, I'm in a kindergarten, a baby step compared to Dr. Azizul, yeah? We are just embarking on the journey. But when I uploaded my training, we had a persona. I'm 57 years old, but my audience can be 30 years old. So I asked them to play around with it, and they told me, Dr. Prabha, your graphic is boring. The font size is not nice. The user interface is not interesting. Wow. Initially, she was a bit reluctant, but I congratulated and thanked them. So that is one of the benefits I've been getting with open learning. Thank you very much for the entire amazing team. For us to get the real feel. And the whole idea of whether it's a shipbuilding or whether we are developing corporate training, whether we are developing micro-credential, it all starts with the systematic steps. And I must say thank you to Harold and his team for this wonderful book. Telling is not training. Meaning giving information, going into a YouTube and sharing videos, giving amazing PowerPoint slides, sharing fantastic content. That is merely content sharing. That is not instructional design. I'm sure many of you, the instructional design community here, you understand where I'm coming from. So when you are doing micro-credential, and I love the quality criteria in OpenCreds, in open learning, and I'm sure the same applies for MQA's guideline. It all starts with a very, very systematic process of explain why they should learn this and how it applies to their work. In another word, many of you may be familiar with Kirkpatrick's model. It starts with level 4. What is end in mind? And you cannot get the feel of end in mind immediately. So someone has to visualize. This is where system thinking matters. So explain. So for example, when we are dealing now, I'm like what Nadia said, I'm one of the certified trainer to conduct online TTT and also face-to-face TTT. Besides that, I'm also a certified project management professional and risk management professional. So these are some of the courses that we are exploring. So end of the day, if you are going to be a trainer, it's like a doctor, yeah? They spend a lot of time diagnosing. Conducting training is just a prescription. I'm not saying just, it's a very important, but it's a prescription. But doctor work a lot of thinking behind the scene. So you and I, we may not have a fantastic big team for some of you who are running small business like mine, but we need to be aware the rationale. And then we got to develop the objective. So a good instructional system designer know what is the choice of word so that it is measurable. So when I'm dealing with micro-credentials, with my OpenCreds, I am so happy in the process of developing this micro-credential, my training program meets these criteria and I get valuable feedback. And based on that, I'll be able to decide what are the activity, give them things to do. Because when we are talking, especially online, yeah, even now, while listening to you, some of you may be answering phones, some of you may be checking your mail, some of you may be responding to your children who are doing homework at home. We have 101 distractors. So we need to decide engaging activities. And I like the idea of social constructivism, how even in the virtual world, we can do peer learning. Because adults especially are extremely competent, experienced in their own world. So you and I in the learning environment, we are facilitators of learning. Sometimes you may have vast experience, but the young guy who just graduated yesterday may be much more expert in you in data analytic, for example. When I went to university those days, the concept of data analytic don't even exist. So from there, we come up with one of my most favorite activity instructional design is evaluation, the Kirkpatrick model. Because what I started with just now, the learning transfer, a lot of people after the training, they do what we call as a happy sheet, the first level of training. Everybody is happy, excited, spend millions of dollars. But whether it is applicable at workplace 6 months from now, 10 months from now, and so on, no one knows. Billions of dollars was invested, for example, in our Look East policies in the 80s to acquire capability. But what happened to that? And we can go on and on how, without we realizing, a lot of opportunity is missed because instructional system design is not paid attention. So I'm so happy in the process of developing micro-credential, the process is in place, right? So we can talk about this further. So what I do in online platform, we are also doing this with offline. Yeah? We have been doing this for many years because, like I mentioned, if you are a CEO, if you are experienced officers, managers, you may have vast experience. But people like us, and there are many more instructional designers out there, can capture your vast experience and convert that into chunk, bite-sized, systematically designed learning program. With that, your vast experience can be translated into a manual. I mean, with due respect, even we are in the grave, our knowledge can continue. So that in organization, like I said just now, a lot of learning are locked. So if vast experience, subject matter expert become trainers, they will be able to develop their people. If CEOs, top management, if you think you are busy, let me give one example. Jack Welch, the late Jack Welch, the former CEO of GE. GE at the peak of their company, they had more than 350,000 employees in about 60 countries. Can you see how busy the CEO can be? 350,000 employees in 60 countries. Yet, Jack Welch will spend at least 5 days in a year to teach in Crotonville, New York, in their GE's training school. He don't go there to cut ribbon and read a script of opening speeches. No, yeah. He literally will teach. So I request all the subject matter expert here, let instructional designers help you to capture your vast experience. And for business owners and leaders of organization, while you use your own expert, you can capture your organizational, what we call as tacit knowledge. Tacit knowledge means knowledge that is hidden in many angles. We can document it. That can help you to optimize the most valuable resources one can have. That is talent. Talent not developed is just like a raw diamond. You won't be shining. With proper instructional system design, outcome-based, suitable activities, engaging activities, effective assessment, we can help you to do what we call as constructive alignment. Even if you're driving a 1 million ringgit Ferrari, if the tire is not aligned, the journey will be jerky, uncomfortable. So in a good instructional system design, we will help you to align your learning experience. I'll get to you, Nadia, for more questions. And if there's more questions from the audience or share their experience, it will be wonderful for all of us. Back to you, Nadia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Prabha. Very insightful. I like that you shared the photo with you talking in Langkawi. It demonstrates how collaborative learning is very important, and we could potentially achieve more by working together. May I just check with you? You mentioned that you are HID certified, or you've got approval to conduct your training online. Is this for the TTT model? How do you envision this would be, and who do you think would be the right fit for this? Is it for everyone or not for everyone? And is it exciting for you that it's going to be online?
Indeed, Nadia. I mean, online learning is no more a choice here. I mean, on a separate topic, I was a reluctant online banker. Doing online banking, I was reluctant for some reason. But pandemic gave no choice. Then I realized, why was I reluctant for such a fantastic technology, with such a safe technology? So the same thing. About 2 years ago, if anybody say, oh, let's conduct an online training, I may not be as insightful like Dr. Azizul, for example. No, because I'm so used to doing physical training. But last 2 years, or 18 months or 19 months, after experiencing the art of designing, the art of engaging, going back to the drawing board, having the beginner's mentality, I enrolled in the ABC of online learning after 32 years in the industry, and I'm still learning. So all I'm telling is, online learning is no more a question whether it's good or not. It is given. It's the responsibility of all of us in the learning and development community, and the learners and the leaders who are investing money, how to optimize it. So when HRDF gave us, before we were given the license, we were requested to submit a proposal to show our plan. What are our strategy to engage the learners? What are our strategy to assess the learners? What are the strategy to ensure the quality of learning and teaching is not compromised? We need to show evidence of our capability. So once I've done that, I had the privilege of listening to one of your colleagues' forum of open learning. While listening to that, I felt so good because I know the person who is giving the briefing know what is he talking about instructional design. After being in the industry, within 5 minutes, I know whether they are mere salesmen or a professional who are talking about instructional design. I was impressed, and I signed up for your platform immediately and started working on that, designing the program a couple of weeks ago. So our online learning for TTT, answering your question, is literally for anybody, but I could develop into 3 categories. Number 1, like I said, Jack Welch, and many of you could be the CEO, could be the directors, could be the managers, could be practitioners. You could be super busy, but tell me if you can spend 2 days in a year, your vast experience can help so many people. So experts like you who have vast experience, we can help you to design, transfer your expertise into a structured training program. Some of us may be retiring, and it's boring staying at home, and you have so much of experience. Join the training and share your vast experience with the younger leaders of the tomorrow. And in the process, you get paid. In the process, you learn, because teachers learn more than the students sometimes. And you meet friends and you go for holidays. a couple of 3-4 years ago, I was privileged to teach in Tanzania. After my class, we went for safari in Kilimanjaro. It comes with a package. So the joy of being a trainer. And third, people like Dr. Azizul, vast experienced people in the university. If you can tweak it to meet the industry requirement, thousands of lecturers with PhDs from best universities in the world, besides serving our students, undergraduate and postgraduate, you can help the working adults. More than 50% of SPM holders in Malaysia don't go to university. That means every year, more than 200,000 SPM leavers go to workforce. How nice if the professors in the university spend a couple of days to help my friends in the industry. So these are the 3 categories of people who will benefit from this online PTT, Nadia.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Dr. Prabha. Very insightful. I think many would benefit in considering whether to attend the TTT program. Let's hear it from Cherie, who is our Managing Director for Open Learning Australia. She helps and supports higher education institutions and organizations in delivering micro-credentials.
Hi, Nadia. Thank you.
Hi.
I apologize, everyone. I've had some technical issues, so I won't have my camera on in this session, and Nadia is actually going to share the slides for me. My role with Open Learning, I've been with the organisation for 3.5 years now, and from a background perspective, have had the opportunity to work across quite a few elements of the education sector. So high school teaching, corporate learning and development, and I've also run vocational and higher education colleges in Australia as well, with a mix of face-to-face, blended and online delivery. In joining the Open Learning team, I've had the pleasure of then stepping into the ability of helping our partners in being able to address a number of the challenges that they're having in their education delivery strategy, which led to the creation of OpenCreds. So I'll get you to Yep, perfect. Thanks, Nadia. So I, along with Adam Bremer, who's our co-founder and group CEO, co-authored the OpenCreds Framework in 2020. So at the beginning of 2020, we released the draft. And really, the creation of the framework, if I look at the why, came out of a need. As most, great innovation does happen, is we could see that there was a real need to come up with not just a definition, but what are those next steps and how do you actually create micro-credentials? Because it has gained momentum and continued to gain momentum. Largely, COVID has had that effect of how are we looking at this as a broader need and market share as well. So that was the why OpenCreds was created. And for us, it wasn't a simple case of, who are the different users or the end player. It was looking at multiple stakeholder needs as part of that process. And if I can get you to flick to the next slide, please, Nadia. Perfect, thank you. So what we did when looking at the OpenCreds framework, and I will call out that you can see on the slide there, I'm referencing the Australian OpenCreds framework, which was the first one developed. It references the AQF, which is the Australian qualification framework. The areas that we tried to factor in for OpenCreds was who is the end user and the market need. And we always look at the learner as the starting point for how we design things and their needs as part of that process. But we did need to factor in that across a lifelong learning journey, there's going to be different points where each learner will have the ability or the option to look at, is it vocational, is it professional learning, or is it higher education that they're actually utilising or needing that support for along their learning journey itself. With the key piece being the data is there, all of the data points, whether it's the World Economic Forum, Future of Work reports, etc., that increasingly a lifelong learner is going to step in and out of all 3 of those sectors to provide that support and upskilling that they need along their journey as well. But realistically, across all of the different stakeholders that I'll talk to in a second, it's quite complex to be able to then utilize the different learning experiences as well. So we wanted to create something that at its core could be standalone. Each individual OpenCred or micro-credential could be standalone, but they could also stack together and be interoperable as well. Next slide, please, Nadia. So who are they for? I've touched on this a little bit already, but really it's no one end user for OpenCreds. But as I said, we do start with learners, and the value that learners get out of completing micro-credentials that are using the OpenCreds framework is that consistency of terminology, consistency of undertaking micro-credentials that are quality assured, and understanding even pre-enrollment, what is this particular micro-credential offering me? What's the potential pathways? How is it actually recognized? And all of those key questions so that they're able to understand prior to enrollment what value that particular micro-credential is giving to them, but also opening up their eyes to where this could take them as well. One of the key challenges, having worked in the vocational sector, where quite often learners won't continue into formal qualifications straight after school, they'll come into it as a adult or mature age student, is that how do you build that sense of confidence that they can actually undertake this work? And that's one of the value propositions that micro-credentials offer. The other piece is employers and industry for two areas. One is that increasingly there's feedback from employers and industry that graduates, when they're leaving universities or colleges, they don't necessarily have those soft skills and core skills required to actually undertake the roles that they're entering into, but also that the pace of change once they're within the workforce is quickening. So how do we upskill staff to enable that process? And then for education providers, again, it's that consistent framework that enables them to not just work through what's that path forward for me as an education provider stepping into micro-credentials, but also how do I work with either employees or industry in the development of them, or other education providers themselves. Importantly, for prospective learners coming to each education provider is how can I use the micro-credentials and the learning that they've gone through with other providers delivering micro-credentials to enable recognition of prior learning as well as part of that entry point into further study. So they're all of the factors that we tried to build into the framework. And it wasn't, necessarily a straightforward process, but it was an important challenge for us to be able to tackle all of those stakeholders and those needs in the development of the framework, and why we did such an extensive consultation process to end up with the framework in its current stance. What I wanted to do now is just walk you through a couple of use cases as to how the framework itself is supporting different education providers that we work with. So Nadia, I'll get you to move to the next slide, please. Thank you. One of those partners is Deacon Co. So for those that aren't as familiar with Deacon Co, they are the commercial arm of Deakin University, which is an Australian university based in Melbourne. Deacon Co is the leader in credentialing, and they work with some of the largest organisations in the mapping process to understand where their staff are sitting from a skills development capability. And the natural next step from that process is, great, so if I understand my team member is at a particular level, let's say in financial literacy or leadership capability, etc. So how do I get them to, being advanced in that capability itself? And that's where micro-credentials and OpenCreds in particular helps, because it's a really focused point for each of those micro-credentials that covers that next step in skills, competency, and knowledge development as part of that process. So Deacon Co uses the OpenCreds framework and the platform to do those upskilling courses. What's great in their particular use case is they're able to then take the capability of the platform and the OpenCreds framework to tailor using that same core micro-credential, but tailor it to different markets. So you can see there in the top left, they're the micro-credentials that they offer to professionals already working in the domestic space. And in the bottom left is a different take on that, where they've been able to utilize some of those same micro-credentials, but delivering areas such as financial literacy and communication, etc., for year 11 and 12 students in India. On the next slide, you'll see that another use case, and this one isn't in our marketplace, but we work with the Australian Technology Network, which is an organisation that is a collaboration across 5 universities in Australia. And they work in building out scalable graduate outcomes and industry connection for their higher degree research students. So you can see there that on the bottom right, that they've got a rather robust process moving forward as to how do they enable their high degree research students, because keeping in mind that a doctorate can take anywhere between, on average, 4 to 10 years to complete, that at the point of doing that, they've not only built up the graduate outcomes capabilities to then step into a career, but also the industry connections that are really important during the research process and post-research as well, whether they continue into academia, research roles, or they do enter a more commercial element of the particular field they're studying as well. So they've only recently started using the OpenCreds framework and the platform to support that, but they've already got 3 courses up and running. And what's been great to see is that they've had to create wait lists, because across the 5 universities that work within the Australian Technology Network, the popularity and the interest is so high that they've already got enrollments into, 2 or 3 intakes ahead, which is great. It also closes the gap. One of the pieces from a provider perspective is, do you necessarily need to do all of the work yourself, or how can you collaborate with others already working in that space? There's great practices and examples happening in different institutions or with industry. So collaboration is also one of the opportunities that OpenCreds provides. On to the next slide, please, Nadia. Thank you. Another example is Red Hill Education. So Red Hill is a publicly listed organisation in Australia, and they have vocational, higher education and English language within their remit. They've been using the OpenCreds framework quite early and are continuing to build out their suite of subject areas as well. What's quite interesting in this particular context is their first OpenCreds that they used or developed were in the design space. So it's really one of the questions I get asked is, how do you start or where to focus with micro-credentials? And this particular partner, they started with, how do we extend our connection with those already working in the design space? So those already working in industry. And the micro-credentials that were developed in partnership with industry and reviewed, so that almost that stamp of approval that their industry current content has been really important in driving enrollments and interest in those particular courses. They're more recent ones. So we've got 2 that have recently gone live and a 3rd one that's about to go live. They're more looking at the earlier stage in the student learning journey. So they are more about, I'm interested in user experience or cloud computing or Python, but I'm not quite sure if I'm ready to step into a qualification. So for those particular ones, they act as a pathway into a qualification and give the learner an understanding of what the particular topic's about, what the type of work is and applications. And then from there, they can opt into undertaking further study with the provider itself. And lastly, on the next slide, is one of our other university partners, which is Western Sydney University. And what's quite interesting about this particular partner, we have a couple of partners in Australia that are taking this approach, but they've taken a whole of enterprise or a whole of university approach into how they entering the world of micro-credentials. And for Western Sydney, they've actually wrapped it under the terminology of alternate credentials. And you can see in the diagram on the left there, they are taking a really holistic approach to the different applications that micro-credentials have as well as the different types of learners. So everything from a pathway into studying with Western Sydney, potential opportunities into B2B training, and complementary to their qualifications. But the other element is that universities and education providers themselves have a large number of staff that they themselves need to continue to support in their learning journey as well. So that's also one of the applications of micro-credentials within Western Sydney. I might pause at that point, and just one last slide is, I think, a key piece as to why we created OpenCreds and the potential use cases for micro-credentials is to keep in mind when you're developing them is, at the end of the day, what is the evidence of learning that a learner is able to demonstrate at completion? And on the next slide, you'll see is that snapshot of the open learning portfolios, because that's the really important piece of, yes, a badge or a certificate is important and interesting, but it's how is the evidence that sits behind it going to enable that learner to be able to either get a job, show an existing employer how they've continued to invest in their capability, or if they're going on to further study, what potential recognition or prior learning they can get as a result of those micro-credentials as well. And I might finish up there. Thanks, Nadia.
Thank you, Cherie. That was very insightful in terms of both what the framework entails and how different organizations use it and how they take different strategies in delivering micro-credentials. I'd just like to pause here for us to launch one of the poll questions that we had. If everybody can help to fill in and choose one of the answers. Okay. Right. Okay, if anybody's got any last questions, we can potentially take one or two. In the meantime, I'll just go around to our speakers just to say any last words that you have, like you'd like to cover in about a minute or two. Shall we go with Dr. Azizul?
Okay, so thank you very much for the questions. So I have answered some of the questions which have been asked. And so if there's any agency or industry who would like to collaborate with UTM, then for MC development, then we are open for collaboration. Like Dr. Prabha has mentioned just now, so there's a lot of opportunity out there where we can collaborate. Then we are looking forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. One of the questions I had in mind is actually what is the opportunity for collaboration between organizations? So that's great to know that UTM is taking that direction. What about you, Dr. Prabha? Any last words to mention?
Yeah, there's a lot of expertise around us. So if we are able to use the platform of micro-credentials where it fulfills the processes involved in proper instructional design, we will be able to transform our own experience into learning packages, and that learning packages can help others to develop. So besides seeing people developing, it's good for business. So best wishes, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. And Cherie, I know you just went recently, so perhaps if you could also share what can organizations do to make what they offer a bit more lucrative and of value to the audience that they're targeting.
Sure. So I guess the first thing I would start with, and we do this from a learning design perspective is our first question is, who is your target audience? And if you go into developing your micro-credentials with a clear understanding of who you're developing for, that helps every step of the process, from naming of the micro-credential through to marketing, and also identifying what that evidence of learning needs to be. The other piece I would say is sometimes our partners get caught up in having everything mapped out. So the whole strategy, all of the courses, etc. Micro-credentials is still a developing market. So don't be afraid to test and pilot and iteratively build on that learning journey as well, rather than thinking that you have to have a huge suite of micro-credentials in order to start that process. And then I guess lastly is the whole open learning team is here to support you. So please reach out if you've got questions. We're more than happy to help.